Welcome to Mr. Biz Radio, Biz Talk for biz owners. During the next half hour, Mr. Biz, Ken Wentworth, a leading business advisor and two-time best-selling author, will cover topics that'll help business owners run their companies more profitably and more efficiently. If you're ready to stop faking the funk and take your business onward and upward, this show is for you. And now, here's Mr. Biz, Ken Wentworth.
Hey there, guys. Welcome to another episode of Mr. Biz Radio. My name is Mr. Biz, Ken Wentworth, and we are going to talk this week about getting rid of head trash. Head trash. We all have it. I don't care how strong mentally you are. We all have it at different points, stressful points, just getting in a funk sometimes, right? It just happens, man, especially if you're a business owner, entrepreneur, but it happens to all of us. You could be a stay-at-home mom, stay-at-home dad, working in your corporate career. Unfortunately, it's one of those things. We got to empty that trash out. You know, we got to get it out of there and think of ways that we can prevent it from accumulating. So that's what we're going to talk about this week with our guest, Mr. Noah St. John, who is the mental health coach of the stars. He's worked with Hollywood celebrities and 8-figure company CEOs and professional athletes. Noah is famous for coaching his clients make more in 12 weeks than they made in the previous 12 months. Are you intrigued yet? Well, I certainly am. So Noah, welcome to Mr. Biz Radio.
Thank you, Ken. Great to be here with you.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to this. I know we talked, it's been months ago now, talked about having you on the show and finally getting you on. So I'm looking forward to it. Why don't we get started with talking about your entrepreneurial journey? So how did you become the mental health coach of the stars?
Well, I'm going to give you the condensed version, but
Right.
I grew up poor in a rich neighborhood. Now, I know that's a total cliche. I know, but it's totally true. I grew up in this little town called Kennebunkport, Maine, which happens to be one of the wealthiest communities in New England. But my family was dirt poor. And I mean that literally, because we lived at the bottom of a dirt road in a drafty, unfinished house that my parents ended up losing to foreclosure. So from a very young age, I was painfully exposed to the gap, the chasm between the haves and the have-nots. The haves was everyone else in the community. The have-nots was my family. Now you hear these speakers, Ken, I know you've heard this, and everybody listening and watching, I'm sure you've heard, speakers get on stage and they say things like, well, we were poor, but we were happy. We didn't know we were poor. Well, my family, we freaking knew we were poor because, my mother, bless her heart, reminded us every day that we were poor and miserable. So no, it wasn't happy. It sucked. And so from a very young age, I hated that life of poverty and fear, lack, not enoughness. That's what I knew growing up in my family. But I saw right down the street, there's great wealth and abundance. So I said, how the heck do I get from here to there? Right. And of course, there was no one to help me. There was no one to talk to. No one in my family, of course, could help me. So, you mentioned I'm known as the mental health coach to the stars. I'm also known as the nerdiest nerd in the personal growth industry. I'm like the Sheldon Cooper of self-help. You watch that show? I'm like the nerd. So as a nerd, and the reason is because when something is wrong, when there's an issue, when there's a problem, I can't take it. I can't sleep. I can't rest until that problem is solved. So that's really what I faced even as a kid. And so I did the only thing that a nerd could do back then, which is I went to the library and just spent hours and hours at the library reading every book on self-help, success, personal growth, Dale Carnegie, Napoleon Hill, Stephen Covey, all the classics, right? And I just really immersed myself in that world, but I really, really couldn't get it to work. It was so frustrating because I was reading all these books, really trying and really working hard, but I could never really succeed. And so at the age of 25, I decided to commit suicide because I was so depressed. I was so frustrated, so, angry and just felt all alone. I felt there was no reason for my being here on the earth. And at the very last moment, my life was spared. Now, I tell that full story in my books, my programs. But the point is, at the very last moment, my life was spared. I didn't know why, but I realized I'm still here on the earth for some reason. The problem is I don't know why I'm here. And so I went on another long journey. This was like a spiritual journey. More of an inner journey, right? To find, why am I here? What is my purpose? And so in 1997, I actually had 2 epiphanies that changed my life and that caused me to start my company, which is called successclinic.com. And so the 2 epiphanies were when I realized, number one, what is missing in traditional success literature, really, literally all those books that I've been reading all those years, what was missing, what they weren't telling us. And then number 2 was how to actually reprogram your subconscious thought patterns using what we call now my affirmations method. And so really it was those two distinctions, Ken, that really, was the impetus, the epiphanies that I had that caused me to start my company in a 300 square foot basement apartment in 1997 with $800 and a book on HTML. That's all I had. I had no money, no marketing experience, no sales, no connection, no list. There was no funnels. A funnel was something you poured water in and you put what in a pot. There was no Facebook, YouTube, social. There's nothing. But it's 25 years ago. So now all these years later, as you mentioned, I'm known as the mental health coach to the stars. I've published 17 books. My 16th and 17th books are coming out actually this year. 18th book coming out next year. And we've helped our clients add over $2.7 billion in sales, meaning, as you mentioned, we help people make more in 12 weeks than they made in the last 12 months, while also gaining back 1 to 3 hours per day and 4 to 8 weeks per year. So it's really been quite a journey.
I can't even imagine. So a couple observations, Noah. So I got to be honest with you. I was a bit of a nerd in library, but we were reading different books. You read better books than me for the time. I was reading about Bigfoot, the Loch Ness Monster, and I'd go to the library because I went to a really small school and all that. And I had read all the Bigfoot and Sasquatch and Yeti and Abominable Snowman and Loch Ness Monster. And she's like, that's all we have. Like, let me see if I can borrow one from another school, that kind of thing. So you were reading things that are going to be much more enriching for your life as we get further along. But I will say one little thing you mentioned that does give you street cred on what you had mentioned about being the nerdiest nerd. And you did say you started it in a 300 square foot basement apartment with blah, 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 and a HTML book. Okay, come on.
Yes. Well, I mean, that was all they had back then. If you remember being online, remember the AOL days, right?
Yes, yes.
Right, remember? And you could have a picture, maybe, 6 by 10 pixels, right? Like that. And of course, there was no video back then or anything like that. And so, I had to build my own website. So I literally built the ugliest website you've ever seen back in 1997, 98. And I just, put something on it and I started selling my book because that's all I had back then, which was self-published. And then what was amazing is I actually met Jack Canfield in 1998. He loved my work, gave me my first celebrity endorsement over 20 years ago. And he sent my book, which was called Permission to Succeed, to the Chicken Soup publisher. And that's how I actually got my first publishing contract over 20 years ago.
Oh, nice. Well, what I hear out of a lot of that, what you just mentioned, Noah, is you're a problem solver. You said that you self-professed yourself as a problem solver, but you just proved it. You went out and got an HTML book. You didn't know anything about that. And you're like, I got to build this website. I know that's what I need to do. And you're like, I'll figure it out. Exactly.
Yeah. And that's it. I mean, for everybody listening, the lesson is, there's so many reasons why, I can't do it. Oh, sure. It's easy for you, Noah, because you had this or I had that. I'm like, I had nothing. Don't give me that. Right. I had no money, no contacts, no list, no nothing, and no money, certainly no connections. And so that's one of the things that we talk about when we talk about head trash, which I know we'll talk about in the next break there, or after the next break. And, really that head trash is all these excuses and things of, I can't do it because, and I'm here to say that's totally wrong.
Yeah, it's totally wrong. All right. So again, we're talking this week with Noah St. John. You can find out more at noahstjohn.com. We're going to hit a break here. We're going to come back. We'll give the Mr. Biz tip of the week, and we're going to dive right back in, and we're going to talk about head trash.
Business owners have a continually growing to-do list with little time for revenue-producing activities. With Check Off Your List and their experienced team of virtual assistants, you can focus on growing your business. Visit checkoffyourlist.com to learn how Check Off Your List's skilled team can handle your day-to-day tasks like social media, bookkeeping, calendar maintenance, and much more. Contact Check Off Your List at checkoffyourlist.com or call 888-262-1249 to see how their virtual assistants can help you live to work rather than work to live.
Thank you for listening to Mr. Biz Radio. Did you know our show airs 7 days a week for more than 30 hours now? If you are in the B2B space and would like to reach thousands of business owners every week, including our more than 250,000 social media followers, our thousands of daily internet radio listeners, our email list fans, and Mr. Biz Solutions members, email us at info@MrBizSolutions.com to become a sponsor. Tap into Mr. Biz Nation to help grow your business.
Check out both of Mr. Biz's national best-selling books, Pathway to Profits and How to Be a Cash Flow Pro on Amazon. Now, once again, here's Mr. Biz.
All right, welcome back to the show. And as we always do, it's the top of the second segment. We give the Mr. Biz tip of the week. And this one is a real quick, very simple. Man, I should have rethought this as I was doing my show prep. I share these. We line out these things, calendarize these tips by in December for the following year. But I should have thought about this considering our guest today, because he's probably going to really laugh at me on this one. He's going to be like, "Oh my gosh, Ken, really?" But this is a really simple motivation hack, and I actually learned this from Grant Cardone. I've mentioned him on the show before, and he's not the only person that does it, but he's the first person I heard do this, and that is to take your goals and write them down twice a day. Not every single goal. For me, what I do personally is I write down my top 3 goals. I write them down at the beginning of my day, and I write them down at the end of my day. And I write them down in a way that I've already achieved them. I have done X, Y, and Z. I have achieved X, Y, and Z. And what it does for me, I know it sounds kind of corny, kind of cheesy or whatever, but I'll tell you, for what it does for me is, first of all, it centers me at the beginning of the day. Why am I doing all of this, right? And the second thing it does, at the end of the day, it repositions your mind. And I'll tell you, there are times when I write them down in the middle of the day. If I hit one of those funks, maybe I have head trash, we'll talk about that in a minute, in a particular day, is I'll just sit down and I have a little tiny book that I write them down in. I've got pages and pages of writing down these same 3 goals. And these are long-term goals. These aren't goals for the day. These are things that I want to achieve over, one in particular is probably going to take me another 5-6 years to achieve. And I'm going to write it down, twice a day for the next 5 years. I'm going to continue to do it and make sure that I stay centered on the 3 things that I'm primarily focused on that drive everything else that I'm doing. So quick motivation hack. I know it sounds cheesy. I promise you, give it a shot. Do it for a few days. I'd be surprised if it doesn't have a positive impact on you. So that's the Mr. Biz tip of the week this week. Now we can segue right into this, Noah, because as I mentioned, sometimes I got to write it down in the middle of the day. I'm in a funk. I'm just not feeling it that day, maybe. So you say that head trash is the number one reason that a lot of entrepreneurs feel stuck. So what is head trash, first of all, and how does it keep us, our hardworking entrepreneurs, from getting, how does it make us get stuck?
Yes, absolutely, Ken. Yeah, I mean, basically, if you look at all these books that I've published and written over the last 20 plus years, and these are some of my books in other languages, I've really written all these books pretty much on the same subject, right? It's all about, as I call it, getting rid of or taking out your head trash. And that's why, by the way, for everyone listening to this program and watching, you can actually get this book for free. It's called Get Rid of Your Head Trash About Money. You get it for free at sendmeabooknoah.com. Very easy to remember, sendmeabooknoah.com, and I will send you a book. Right? Just cover the shipping, but the book is free because you're listening to this program. Again, it's sendmeabooknoah.com. So what is head trash, right? So the way that I've been teaching this for many years is that head trash is the voice in your head that says, I can't do it because ... right? And then you just fill in the blank. So for everyone listening to the program, I want you to think about your goals, as Ken was just talking about, right? So think about your goals. Well, Noah, people, they hire me or they come to me and they say, no, I want to, add an additional $10,000 a month, or I want to add an additional 50,000 or 100,000 or whatever it might be, right? I want to get a new car. I want to buy a new house. I want to take my family on vacation. I want to retire my spouse. I mean, these are some of the goals that we have, right? As business owners, as entrepreneurs, right? Great. And then the very next thing out of their mouth is, yeah, but I probably can't do it because, right? And they say, and they don't even realize they're doing this, right? And so this is an example or a symptom of what I call head trash. So head trash is exactly what it sounds like. It's all of those reasons or excuses that you're giving of why you can't do the thing that you just said you want to do. So think about the typical excuses, oh, no, well, yeah, I want to make more money, but I don't have the time. Oh, yeah, no, I want to grow my business, but I don't have the money. Oh, yeah, I want to have more clients, but I don't have the right connections, or whatever it might be, right? And so that's the thing, it comes down to time. I don't have the money, I can't afford it, I don't have the connections. And that's one of the reasons that I share my story, because I'm like, well, that's funny. I didn't have anything, right? I didn't have any money. I didn't have any connections. I was living in a 300 square foot basement apartment. 25 years ago, there was none of the tools that we have today at our fingertips, that are so easy, so much. You guys don't have to build an HTML website. You're welcome. I mean, just that's one example, but that's what I'm saying. So there is no excuse that holds any water. But here's the funny thing about it. You always make yourself right. I'll give you a great example. I was speaking at an event in Los Angeles a few years ago. This is about 1,000 entrepreneurs, business owners, 6, 7, 8-figure entrepreneurs. I just finished speaking. I was walking up the stage and this man ran up to me. He said, Noah, you are the coach I've been looking for. He says, I want to hire you right now. You're the coach I've been looking for. Now, I didn't know this man from Adam. Ironically, his name was Adam. And I said, okay, what's going on? He says, Noah, I'm totally stuck. We're only making $4 million a year. And I said, well, that doesn't sound like much of a problem, right? Who wouldn't want to be stuck at $4 million a year? He says, Noah, no, the point is, the problem is we've been stuck at $4 million for the past 4 years. Our company grew to $4 million and we're just plateaued. We're stuck. And he says, I've hired every guru, every marketing guy. He named all the marketing gurus, right? And all the big names. He says, I've paid all this money and we're still stuck. He said, as soon as I heard you speak about head trash and your foot on the brake and everything you just said, I knew you were the coach I've been looking for. He literally hired me on the spot. And I worked with him. I worked with his team for about 18 months. And in that 18 months, his company went from 4 million being stuck for the previous 4 years to over 20 million in sales in less than a year and a half. And now, What did I do? Did I sprinkle magic fairy dust on him? Yes, I didn't do that. The point is, it was about this head trash. He literally, because he was doing all the stuff on what we call the outer game, meaning, he spent all this money and all this effort on marketing, right? Which isn't wrong. We all have to do marketing, right? But it had nothing to do with that. It was all about the inner game, right? So when you look at, for everybody listening to the program, you need to look at your inner game and your outer game. In this particular case, it was inner game, right? And in 80% of cases that I worked with, helping my clients add over $2 billion, 80% of that is inner game. And so if you're holding yourself back from the success you're capable of, for everybody listening, I just want you to realize 90% of that is an inner game issue. And 90% of that means you got to take out your head trash.
I love it. Again, you say it much more eloquently than me, but I've always said, you have to start with yes. And what I mean by starting with yes is the exact same example you're giving is people say yes, but.
Right.
So they go, I started with yes. Well, we can't do that because, like you were saying, and it's and like you said, I found it too, even in my corporate career, is people don't even realize they're saying it.
That's right.
They don't even realize that they pump the brakes. They've run up against the wall on their own. Like the wall's 3 feet wide. You could walk around the right or the left, but you choose to walk right into it. Right.
That's right. And I actually call that driving down the road of life with 1 foot on the brake, because that's what millions and millions of entrepreneurs are doing right now, not realizing it. They're working really, really hard. They got their goals, and everybody out there, all the gurus say, get motivated, excite yourself up, right? Put your foot on the gas. If you're driving down the road with 1 foot on the brake and 1 on the gas, and somebody says, step on the gas harder, is that going to help you? No, it's just going to ruin your car faster. So that's what I've done with Adam and with all of our clients is I say, why don't we get your foot off the brake? Then you can actually make more in the next 12 weeks. You made in the last 12 months and you'll be working less. What a concept.
Man, I tell you, so we got to hit a break here, but I cannot wait for the third segment. I would almost ask producer Alan to skip the commercials, but we'll get to them. We'll get to the commercials and we'll come back. But again, this week we're talking with Mr. Noah St. John. You can find out more at noahstjohn.com. As he mentioned, you can go to sendmeabooknoah.com, sendmeabooknoah.com, very easy to remember, and get a free copy of his head trash book because, again, as you've seen with the illustration that he just really well laid out for us, we all have this. We've all got the brake on and we got to get our foot off the brake. So come back after the break and we'll continue talking with Noah.
Are you ready to automate your business? Automation is the key to scaling a business and building wealth. It's also one of the most difficult things for a small business owner to do on their own. If you're looking for help with automation, Pulse Technology CRM can help. We have an exclusive offer for Mr. Biz Nation. We will build everything for free, even if it's a sophisticated funnel. Visit thepulsespot.com/Mr. Biz for this exclusive offer.
If you find listening to Mr. Biz Radio is helpful, imagine having live access to not only Mr. Biz, but also 5 other trusted business experts. It's true. You can have live access to your very own CFO, plus a business attorney, a website and digital marketing expert, a sales and growth guru, a financing professional, and a customer experience master. Visit MrBizSolutions.com to learn more. Join Mr. Biz Nation at MrBizSolutions.com.
To submit questions to the show, email them to info@MrBizSolutions.com. Now, once again, here's Mr. Biz.
All right, welcome back to the show. And again, I don't want to waste time here. I know we've only got our esteemed guest for about another 9 minutes and counting. So I want to make sure we get through this. And there's so much I want to cover. That's why during the break, I was feverishly taking notes, and I've got all the show prep. I'm like, where do I go? I got so much more I want to cover. I guess I would be remiss, especially given the predominance of our audience and the demographics of our audience, if I didn't ask you about, again, you've mentioned it, you alluded to it earlier, but I know you're famous for that helping people earn more in 12 weeks than they did in the last 12 months and saving time as entrepreneurs and business owners, which is the vast majority of our audience. Mm-hmm. How the heck do you do that?
Well, first of all, let me attend to that first point you made. You're going to have me back on the show, right, Ken? I mean, we got to.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I got so much more. Seriously,
let's go, baby. All right, so we'll make sure we make that happen first thing.
Yeah.
So yes, absolutely. So I mean, the point is, building your business is like building a house, right? That's the analogy I like to think about a house, right? A house has a lot of moving parts to it. It's not necessarily easy to build a house, And what a lot of the gurus say, is they're saying, well, listen. If you want to build a house, you got to just psych yourself up. Come on, take massive action. That's my favorite. Take massive action. And so what are most entrepreneurs doing? What they're doing is they're running around slapping boards together and hoping a house shows up. Oh, come on, let's go. Man, I'm tired. It's still kind of cold in here, isn't it? Yeah, it's kind of drafty. Shoot, what did I do wrong? What you did wrong was you don't have a plan. That's the first thing. So to have a successful business, you really need three things. You need, number one, you need the right plan, right? If you're going to build a house, I'll give you a perfect example. All right. My father, when, I mentioned we grew up poor in a rich neighborhood. Well, what was funny, ironic is my father actually decided when I was just 5 years old that he was going to build a house, literally build a house from scratch. And he literally said, well, how hard can it be? A little naive, huh? Right. But he did. He said, how hard can it be?
Confidence, though. He's confident, Noah.
He's a confident guy. I'm not kidding. I mean, talk about thinking positive, right? Where do you think I got it? Anyway, so he said, let's build that. And you know what? He did it. He actually did it. He had a good plan. He had a blueprint, right? And so he followed the blueprint. He built a house. So that's what building a business like, building a house, right? A plan. Then you need the right tools, right? You need the right tools because you can't just build a house, with your bare hands. That would hurt, right? So you need a hammer, saw, nails, screwdrivers, whatever. So he had the tools he built, but see, he was missing the most important, the crucial third element, which I see so many entrepreneurs struggling with. And that is, you must have the right support. You have to have the right support. Somebody in your corner who, number one, believes in you, oftentimes when you don't believe in yourself. Here's another perfect example of that. I literally just brought on a new coaching client. Now, to get one-on-one mentoring with me right now is a 6-figure investment. And people pay that. And he actually found one of my other books, which is called Power Habits. That's another book that I've written. And he told me that he was in Barnes & Noble and he passed my book 3 times on the bookshelf. He just kept walking by it and it kept calling out to him. And he finally bought my book. He read like 50 pages of it. He didn't even finish. He reached out to me and he said, Noah, you are the coach I've been looking for. He hired me on the spot, paid me 6 figures. And we literally just started working together less than a month ago. But he told me, the reason I'm bringing up this story is that he told me that his head trash, as a result of reading in my books or my book and understanding this now for the first time, seeing it in a new perspective, he said, Noah, my head trash is costing me at least $1 million every single year. So he invested 1/10 of that. And that's what I said. I said, well, if you just give me $1, I'll give you 10 back. Do you think that's a good investment? Of course it is, right? And so that's the point for everyone listening. Do you have the right plan? No, it's not about taking massive. Yes, of course you have to take action, obviously. But if you don't have a plan, you're busy slapping boards together. Number 2, you need the right tools. The funny thing is now we have so many tools. A lot of times when entrepreneurs hire me, when they come to me, we have to have them stop doing stuff. They're trying to do 10 million things. And it's like, oh my gosh, it's overwhelmed. And then number 3, you've got to have the right support. And you've got to have the right support system. And if you don't have that, it's kind of like in the Rocky movies. Remember, the original Rocky movies? Like my favorite is Rocky 3. Remember when, first he had his original trainer, Mickey, who died, and then he had Apollo Creed. Well, what Apollo Creed did is he said, by the way, when Mr. T is punching you in the face, move your face out of the way.
Right.
What? You mean I don't have to get hit? He was like, yeah, when you go like this, move. Huh? I never thought of that. And that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Isn't it funny? Business is like getting punched in the face sometimes, doesn't it? I mean, sometimes it feels like you're in the ring and it never stops. So that's what I say. I said, by the way, when somebody hits you, move. I mean, sometimes it can be that simple.
Yeah, look, it is. And I think we get in our own way so often,
yes,
not only with head trash, but, whatever it might be, preconceived notions, prior beliefs from our experiences. And, again, it creates those breaks where we go, oh, well, this happened before, this will never work. Or, gosh, man, I see it myself. I can't imagine how often you see it, because I'm a complete neophyte in this space. And obviously you're the guru. So I can't imagine, it's got to drive you bonkers, because I know even with just my little bit of experience with some of this stuff, it drives me bonkers. And when I find people who are like that, who are the, Debbie Downers, and not even necessarily downer, but just everything is impossible. You talk to them and it's like, oh my God, we could never do that.
It's funny you mentioned that, because I actually just had to fire a client because of that. I had already coached him for 9 weeks, and every single week it was, oh, this will never work. Oh yeah, you made all this money for everyone else, but it'll never work for me. And it's like, okay, finally I said, you know what? You're right. It won't work for you. You're fired. I gave him all his money back. I mean, I'd already coached him, I'd already been coaching him. He paid me, 5 figures. I gave him all his money back because I'm like, you know what? I'm tired of this. I don't need this. And that's, again, what's the lesson? The lesson is that if people aren't appreciating what you do, then sometimes, let me put it this way, sometimes money is too expensive, right? I mean, did I like giving that 5 figures back? No, of course not. But it's like, you know what? I'd rather have my peace of mind, than somebody's money who's just completely. And obviously the whole irony of that is I could have helped him. Right. Obviously. I mean, duh, and it's like, but every single thing, oh, but this won't work and this won't work. I'm like, but it's worked for so many other people. Why wouldn't it work for you? Oh, but it won't. And I'm like, okay, you know what? You're right. It won't work. Bye. Here's your money. Yeah. Go away. And honestly, it was like a huge 80-ton weight off of me, because I'm like, oh, I was so tired, because that's like 1 out of 1,000 people that I deal with nowadays. I mean, frankly, it hasn't happened for a long time. But that's the point, is that if you're still saying, oh, it won't work for me, then hello, that is the head trash that's keeping you stuck. That's the very point.
Yeah. I've only fired 2 clients my whole entire time. One was the most lucrative client I had. And same thing. It was crazy. And I don't even do what you do, but I mean, even just on the business optimization side, they were that way. It's like, well, God, they were stuck from, doing stuff that worked 20 years ago that doesn't work anymore. And I'm like, when you do this, well, we tried that. When did you try it? This isn't 1989. Okay. Right. You got to get out of your own way, because this particular business has been in business for a long time. So we tried that. Well, yeah, you tried it 25 years ago. The world is different now. But again, like you said, everything was like, well, that won't work and that won't work. And I finally said, look, I'm wasting my time. I'm getting frustrated. You're going to at some point say, I'm not getting any results, because you're not, willing to be coached and listen or anything like that. So this is not going to be, it's not going to work for sure. 100%. And like you said, I love the quote, sometimes it's just too expensive. Money's too expensive, because, oh my gosh.
I don't need this. My peace of mind is worth more than quote unquote money, but of course you want both. But anyway, yes, that's the moral. And so for everyone, what is your head trash? Take it out, get the books, send me a book, Noah. It's free. Don't let your head trash stop you from getting this book. And then we can start you on the path and get your foot off the brake.
Absolutely. So again, send me a book, Noah.com, send me a book, Noah.com. You can also go out to his website and see all the other books he has that he's released. As he mentioned, NoahSt.John.com. Noah, thank you so much. We will absolutely, if you're willing, we'll have you back on the show.
Absolutely. Look forward to it.
I want to talk about affirmations.
Yes.
We're going to talk about that for sure. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And as always, don't forget, cash flow is king.
This has been Mr. Biz Radio. To learn how to become part of Mr. Biz Nation, visit MrBizSolutions.com. For access to free weekly content, subscribe to the Mr. Biz YouTube channel and follow him on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter. To listen to archive shows, you can find them on the Mr. Biz Solutions website.